Oh man, I forgot to bring my sled. Does anybody have a spare? Oh, I brought my grandpa. Who doesn't love a good festival? It seems like every state has at least one interesting festival every year. I know personally, there's a number of festivals I would love to visit in my lifetime. Squirrel Fest in Washington, the popular Mothman Festival in West Virginia. There's even an outhouse festival in Kansas. I didn't, however, expect to ever stumble across a festival that was inspired by a man who was kept on ice for 30 plus years. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, let me introduce you to Frozen Dead Guy Days. What exactly is Frozen Dead Guy Days, you might ask? Let me give you a little backstory. Also, disclaimer, I'm probably going to butcher the names that are included in this story. In 1989, while on a mountain retreat with his family in Norway, 89-year-old Brito Morstol passed away in his sleep due to a heart condition. Also, probably because he was almost 90 years old. Instead of being cremated or buried in Norway, where he's lived his entire life, his body was put on dry ice and sent to America to be with his daughter Odd Morstol and grandson Bog. Can I call him Teabag? I'm calling him Teabag. In Nederland, Colorado. Once there, his body was kept in the garden shed behind their castle-style home they built that was intended to be, quote, bomb, fire, earthquake, and flood-proof. Nothing is tearing down these walls. We need to hire this man. We need to test this theory. If that wasn't odd enough, Grandpa Brito eventually had a roommate from Chicago named Al Campbell, but eventually his family reclaimed him and did cremate him. The more you know. After overstaying his visa, Teabag was eventually deported back to Norway, leaving his mother to take care of Grandpa Brito's frozen body, making sure there was a substantial amount of dry ice to keep him preserved. Eventually, though, Odd faced eviction due to living in a house that did not have electricity or plumbing. She turned to a local news reporter for help as she was about to go back to Norway to be with her son and hoped the community would continue to take care of Grandpa Brito in her absence. Even though this case is the reason City Council made it illegal for people to store frozen loved ones and pets, they did agree to continue care for Grandpa Brito. They even upgraded his shed to this. What do you mean I can't keep Spot's body in the freezer? They can keep Grandpa in the shed over there, but I can't keep my dog? Where's this country come to? Grandpa Brito became such a hot topic, even gaining worldwide media attention, that in 2002, Nederland decided to have their first ever Frozen Dead Guy Days. Held every March, this festival would do things such as Grandpa look-alike competitions, coffin races, bar crawls, live music, and so much more. Over the years, this event blew up and outgrew the town of Nederland, which ultimately led to the end of this beloved festival indefinitely. Fortunately, though, after having several drinks, the owner of the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, John Cullen, decided he would take over the festival and ultimately the care of Grandpa Brito, saying, quote, basically, in order to save the festival, I had to buy the festival and move it here. And in order to save it again and keep it, I had to get Brito in the house. Grandpa Brito is ruthless, even in death. John Cullen used this opportunity to turn the Stanley Hotel's old ice shed into a cryonics museum, where you can visit Grandpa Brito in his upgraded in his upgraded liquid nitrogen-filled Dewar. Dewar. Thanks to the help of Alcor. Which leads me to my next category. What the is Alcor? Alcor Life Extension Foundation is a non-profit organization that focuses on cryonics, which is the practice of preserving human bodies at extremely low temperatures, in hopes that one day medical technology will be advanced enough to revive them. Sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi film, honestly. In 1964, a physics teacher, Robert Ettinger, published The Prospect of Immortality, which proposed the idea of cryonics. This idea caught the attention of Fred Chamberlain III and his wife Linda, and in 1972, the two started their own organization in California, though they did relocate to Scottsdale, Arizona. In 1976, Alcor performed its first in-house cryopreservation and the first ever neuropreservation, which is the freezing of just the brain versus the entire body, on Fred Chamberlain Jr., after legally dying from a respiratory infection at the age of 81. They like to say legal death because cryonics cannot be performed on somebody until they have been declared deceased by a qualified physician. Cryonicists argue that though a clinician might pronounce somebody as deceased, the person is not in an absolute state of death, which they call biological death. So those who are cryopreserved are simply, quote, deanimated. The August 1976 issue of Alcor News stated, quote, Fred Jr. now begins the long wait at liquid nitrogen temperatures. During this time, which for him will be as if only a moment has passed, many things must be accomplished if he is ever going to regain consciousness. Since then, Alcor has over 200 patients, including the first person to ever be cryogenically preserved, James Benford, and baseball legend Ted Williams. There's believed to be other big-name patients, but Alcor likes to keep that stuff private. Each year, cryonics continues to garner attention. Celebrities such as Steve Aoki, Britney Spears, Seth MacFarlane, and even Paris Hilton have all shown interest in being cryopreserved. The 1%ers. According to their website, Alcor has a 4-step protocol when preparing their patients for cryopreservation. Step 1, deployment and standby. If Alcor is notified of a pending case or emergency, a standby team is deployed to the location of the patient to ensure rapid intervention after pronouncement of legal death. Step 2 is stabilization. After pronouncement of legal death, rapid cooling is initiated. Circulation is restored, the lungs may be ventilated, and medications are administered to protect against blood clotting and keep the brain viable. In remote stabilization cases, where transport to Alcor's operating room may take up to 24 hours, the blood is ideally replaced with an organ preservation solution to enhance cooling, prevent blood clotting, and protect against cold ischemia. Step 3 is cryoprotectant perfusion. After arrival of the patient at the Alcor facility, the patient's blood or organ preservation solution is replaced with a vitrification solution. Circulation of this solution through blood vessels at cold temperatures partially replaces water inside cells with chemicals that reduce or prevent ice crystallizations during further cooldown to cryogenic temperatures. Step 4 is cryogenic cooldown. After cryoprotectant perfusion, the patient is gradually cooled to the temperature of liquid nitrogen for long-term care. In the future, as appropriately reliable equipment becomes available, cooling may terminate and long-term maintenance may occur slightly below the glass transition temperature to minimize structural damage. So if having your body drained of all of its fluids, getting filled with an antifreeze cocktail, and then frozen with liquid nitrogen to negative 320 degrees Fahrenheit in the hopes to maybe come back one day to a completely unknown civilization, you're in luck. Simply go to Alcor's website, fill out an application, and make sure you have the funds to secure a spot. How much is that spot, you might ask? For a full body cryopreservation, make sure you have at least $220,000 lying around in your piggy bank. Or if you want to put away just your brain, it's just a measly $80,000, pocket change. Or you can do like what, according to Alcor's website says, 90% of its members have done, and get a life insurance policy and make Alcor the beneficiary. Wait a minute. Doesn't this kind of sound like a... Although it's not classified as a cult, a lot of people in the general public think otherwise for several reasons, including there's currently zero scientific evidence that we will ever be able to bring someone back who has been cryogenically preserved, meaning that this entire foundation is built off of faith alone. Most people who truly believe in cryonics often find themselves isolated from people who share opposing views, including friends and family, causing them to form a sort of community amongst those who do share the same beliefs. Sounds familiar. Also, you cannot tell me this guy doesn't look like a cult leader. But with that, if you've made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's something different, which seems to be my thing right now. I'm still genuinely shocked that this is a thing and not talked about more, unless it is. And I'm actually frozen right now. Okay, bye.